invocation and the pledge.
Please join us. Let's pray. Dear Lord God, our Father, I first ask that you forgive us of where we've fallen short, Father, and forgive us of our sins. Father, we ask you now to be with us as we discuss our children, Father, and educating them. You've entrusted each one of us up here, along with all of the teachers and staff of Caddo Parish School Board, Father, to teach our children. And that's a heavy burden, Father, but we all take it very seriously, and we're just blessed to be able to take a part in it. And more blessed as we see all the benefits that come from it, Father. Father, we ask you now to be with us in all that we say and do, and it's in Jesus' name I pray. And they all said, Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Executive Committee, roll call, please vote. Thank you. Dr. Robinson, do we have presentations this evening?
Yes, sir, we do. We have two presentations, and I know according to your agenda, the recognitions come second, but I've asked Mr. Monero to do the recognitions first, and we will do the summer school report following.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. If I have you come down, please, and Board President to come down. We have some incredible individuals to introduce to the board tonight, and with this board meeting and the next board meeting, we have quite a list to go through, but we're going to concentrate this evening on our elementary school assistant principals, and then we have a few individuals from special education, attendance, academic affairs, and human resources to introduce to you. As I introduce your name, if you'll please stand, and we would love for you to introduce any family or friends that you have with you. Come up, shake hands with our interim superintendent, board president, and make your way around the horseshoe and shake hands with board members. Our first up of the elementary school's assistant principal is Miss Dolores Lynch, new assistant principal at Claiborne Fundamental. And I don't believe I saw her. Probably working, okay. I have seen the next one. Our new assistant principal at Keithville is Paulette Houston. Please stand. Any introductions that you have?
Yes.
Family or friends with you that you'd love to introduce?
I do have some family and friends here. I have my principal,
All right.
Miss Farr is here. My husband. I have my two nieces and my nephew. I have 3 sisters, my brother-in-law, and my baby brother, who's the principal at CMC too. Thank y'all.
Congratulations. We also have a picture here. Turn. Our next assistant principal at Southern Hills, Mr. Rudrick Brown. Mr. Brown. From University and new assistant principal at University, Casey Monero.
I have my parents here. My poor husband is taking children to soccer practices. But my mom and dad, Doug and Louise Robinson. And then, of course, he looked just like my husband, so I my husband's brother, Victor.
That's right. Congratulations. Right, congratulations. All right, we go into Vivian. Have 2 at Vivian. Our first one, I see her in the audience, Miss LaDonna Davenport.
They are now all grown, and they've moved to various states, and so they're not able to be with me, and my father is not able to come. He's an elderly gentleman, but everyone is here with me in spirit. My mom is, she's now deceased, but she is definitely indeed here with me in spirit. However, I do have my coworker and her husband here, and I'm very excited about the school year.
Ms. Davenport mentioned her other assistant principal. Without further ado, the other assistant principal at Vivian is Miss Cynthia Henderson. Introductions, Ms. Henderson.
And I have with me my husband, LaVance Henderson.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Ms. Henderson. New assistant principal at Werner Park, Dr. Frederick Pickney. Is Mr. Pickney here? Working, okay. And I know that he had to go out of town, but we will go ahead and introduce him also. Our last assistant principal, elementary school, Westwood, is Mr. Robert Franklin. So let's give him a round of applause. We are on camera, all right? Going to the special education department, the new instructional facilitator, Cassandra Henderson. Is Miss Henderson here?
She's out sick today.
She's
Sick
out.
baby.
Oh, goodness, sick bag, okay.
5-year-old.
All right, now I think I see the next one here, though. Supervisor of Compliance in the Special Education Department, Miss Penny Harris. Introduction, Miss Harris?
Yes, I don't have any family here today with me. They were unable to make it, but I do have my director, Dr. Sheila Lockett, who we work closely together, and Pam Morgan, who you'll meet in just a minute, who's also the supervisor that's been newly promoted. And we're looking forward to doing great things within the special education department.
Thank you. Also in the special education department, the new supervisor of instruction, Ms. Pamela Morgan. Ms. Morgan?
It's just me this time. My parents and husband are home holding down the fort. And all the heat, they're probably out watering all the trees. But I look forward to serving you in this new capacity. I got to be compliant for a little while, and now we'll get to go back to my original home instruction.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Ms. Harris. We have one individual in the attendance department that was promoted to an attendance facilitator, Marion Russian Robinson. Please congratulate Ms. Robinson. There she is. Introductions?
I have my husband with me, and I also have my two bosses, my director, Ms. Carla Moore, and Mr. James Wolfhard with me as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations again. Moving to the Academic Affairs Division, the new Supervisor of Health, Physical Education, Athletics, and Driver's Education is Mr. Patrick Greer. You'll do everybody as your family, right?
Circuit family all along the wall, back row.
Congratulations again, Mr. Greer. Moving to our last department, the Human Resources Department. The new staffing administrator, Ms. Emily Stanford.
I don't have any family to introduce. My husband works out of town. My daughter left to go to college today. And the other one is at the airline waiting on a ride.
We got to get you through.
But I do have my boss here.
And our last one, speaking of her boss, we will introduce the new Director of Certified Personnel, Mr. Charles Louder.
Jackie Lansdale came behind me and said, "Could you please introduce me as family and best friend?" We tied, y'all. Don't mess with us. I need to reconsider that.
Absolutely, it's recorded. That's okay. Yes. All right. We will have more at our September 17th board meeting of our middle and high school assistant principals, along with other recognitions. But please, one more round of applause for our newly appointed administrators. At this time, I would like to introduce Ms. Lisa Edwards, Director of School Performance, with the presentation of summer school.
We began our timeline in February, and we couldn't do this alone. All of our district support team members came together and we developed our timeline. Today I only have a few minutes, so I've brought 3 of those people that worked this summer with us to provide summer remediation. We have Mrs. Shalita Huey, Cannon Huey. She is our supervisor that worked with curriculum. We have Ms. Bryant, Ms. Rosalind Bryant, and Ms. Marilyn Bartlett Jackson from parental involvement, because we know it takes the home, the school, the parents, as well as the teachers, principals, to make success for our students, working together. The district team began our summer remediation timeline in February to prepare for summer remediation. Our summer remediation and fee program began June 3rd through June 25th. We had our testing June 25th through the 27th. Our high school fee program consisted of 2 semesters. The first semester began June 3rd through June 27th, and our second session began July 8th, ending August 1st. We had 237 students attending summer school. 339.5 credits were attempted, and we have copies of the PowerPoint for you at the end of our presentation. We held our high school summer fee at Captain Shreve High School. Not only did we have high school fee, we had summer remediation, those students that needed to go to summer school because of GEE or end of course testing. 237 students and 312 credits were earned. We had not only our Caddo Parish High School students, we had students from Loyola, Evangel, as far as Mendon, and we also had middle school students from Caddo, Middle Magnet, and Keithville attending so they could get a jump start on high school. As you'll see, these are the high school courses that were offered during summer fee. The cost for our students in Caddo is $250 for half a credit and $275 for those non-Caddo students. Then for the entire, if they needed a whole credit, it was $250 for the second semester. We had 53 students that received their high school diploma as a result of what they did in summer remediation. We're very proud of them. Only 37 participated in our summer graduation, 20 on August 27th at Caddo Magnet High School. We're very proud of those students, and for those that did not attend, we send them their diploma or they can pick it up, also with a complimentary 5x7 picture of them receiving their high school diploma. Our elementary middle summer school fee site was at Turner Elementary Middle School. And we had 45 students receiving credit, and these were the courses that were offered: language arts, math, science, social studies, and reading. Only one student will have to repeat a grade. The other students did earn their credit, but this was due to attendance. There were only 13 days of instruction. And this is very important for me to pause to say this, because we do have a bridging hours, because there are 50 hours required for ELA and 50 required for math. Therefore, we had to provide at our schools, before school was out, beginning May 17th when we received test results, 25 hours for bridging, 5 days for 5 hours, plus any after-school tutoring or remediation. Our results. We were proud to say 616 of our 8th graders were promoted to the 9th grade. That means they passed the LEAP, or by pupil progression plan, they received a waiver. If they have repeated 8th grade, there was a stipulation due to their age and the points that they earned on that. Only 127 8th graders will remain in 8th grade, and they will receive response to interventions provided in ELA and math. And wherever those deficits are, we work with those students to improve. In 4th grade, 411 of our students were promoted. 320 passed the LEAP and were promoted to 5th grade. 84 were promoted to 6th grade. And you may say, well, how do they go from 4th to 6th grade? These are students that have repeated 4th grade previously, and they earned enough points to go from 4th to 6th grade. There were 89 students that we will provide RTI for. These are called our transition students. At the end of this year, they will either be promoted to 5th or 6th grade, depending on what they score on for the spring testing cycle. We do have 443 4th graders that will remain in 4th grade and receive the RTI in ELA and math. In addition, for those students that did not meet the criteria for promotion, 65 of these students that did not pass, they did move up a performance level in either ELA, math, or both. For example, 13 days of instruction. Some of them came to us unsat. But we were able to move in those 13 days, some of them up from unsat to approaching basic, and we had 3 to go from unsat to basic in math in 4th grade. So even though all of them did not pass in 4th grade, they were able to move up a level, just not enough for promotion. Each day, our supervisors of attendance went out and checked to see where our students were that did not attend. And this is from June the 4th. Also, students could opt out and not attend summer remediation. The parents had to sign a waiver and submit to Ms. Rosemary Woodard saying they knew that their child needed to attend, but this is a state function that they weren't going to attend. Also, we had some students that were working this summer, had summer jobs or they summer vacation. They did not attend remediation, but if you'll notice, it's an increase on the high school on June 24th because they did come back to test. So some of our high school students didn't come every day, but they came back to test. Our summer remediation roster, we had our principals and assistant principals, and we had a unique site at Donnie Bickham. We had 4th, 8th, and high school at that site. Our schools are clustered by locations in the parish. Students attending magnet schools attended the summer remediation site closest to their residence. So when you see your PowerPoint, you can see where the students in your district attended. There were, at this time, Mrs. Shalita, who is going to come up and share from application to the classroom. How did we make this happen?
Good afternoon. Summer remediation teaching positions were advertised by the Human Resources Division. 340 applicants responded to the need for classroom teachers and submitted their application to Human Resources. As applications were received in the Human Resources Division, each was forwarded to the Academic Affairs Instructional Center. The clerical staff of the Instructional Center scheduled interviews with applicants via fax, email, and telephone. Curriculum supervisors organized Super Saturday, which was held on March 16th from 8:30 a.m. to 12 noon at Turner School. During Super Saturday, summer remediation principals had the opportunity to interview potential summer remediation teachers. Moreover, curriculum supervisors conducted makeup interviews on Thursday, March 21st from 3:30 to 5:30. Curriculum supervisors convened a teacher focus group to review and evaluate materials presented by select vendors to determine which resources would help to meet the academic needs of students. Supervisors created meaningful documents such as pacing guides, lesson plans, bell ringer activities, constructive response activities, and student home learning packets. Supervisors held professional development sessions on Friday, May 24th. In addition to that, in service, supervisors provided those materials directly to the summer remediation sites. Curriculum supervisors, and in addition to other departmental supervisors, were assigned to a summer remediation site and worked collaboratively to promote the success of students and teachers. Our role was to assist the administrative team, conduct observations as needed, provide feedback to classroom teachers, and assist students and parents. Additional daily operations of summer remediation duties included, but are not limited to, providing additional materials, contacting parents, and assisting with parent meetings.
In addition to classroom instruction being a priority for 13 days, we also believed that engaging our parents was an important component for our summer remediation and to continue throughout this year. Ms. Barton. Ms. Bryant.
Good afternoon. On the second day of summer remediation, a parent meeting was held at each summer site. We provided the 4th and 5th grade parents with workbooks so they could help their children at home during the summer. The 4th graders received the 4th to 5th grade summer bridge book if they were promoted to the 5th grade. If the 4th grader was promoted to the 6th grade, he received that book along with a 5th to 6th grade workbook. The 8th graders' parents were given the Algebra 1 practice book, which is done by Clip Notes, and they were also given an English grammar practice book, which is also by Clip Notes. And we encourage the parents to work with their children throughout the summer with these books.
In addition to the parent meetings that were held at each summer school remediation site, parents were also given materials at the Parent Resource Center. And these materials were given to parents of students pre-K through 8th grade. Strategies were modeled with the parents. Strategies were modeled so that they could help their child get a conceptual understanding of mathematics and English language arts skills. We also promoted and advocated to the parents using robust vocabulary with their students so that their child would learn using robust vocabulary in a natural environment, because we want our children working and writing at a higher level. Modeling these strategies and expectations were the additional ways that we supported the parents of students in the summer remediation program. This is a computer lab where parents could come and we can show them some of the LEAP tutoring that's available in the summer to help the students as well. And these were our parents going to our parent orientation meetings. Our next steps. If y'all will pass out the PowerPoints and the information. Our goal for the 2013-2014 school year is to provide RTI in reading and math throughout the school year and to engage parents to increase their knowledge of Common Core in order to help their children. We're asking you all to do something for us as board members. Our home learning assignment, we're passing out a brochure about the Parent Resource Center and about upcoming parent meetings. If a child attends a Title I school, they will be able to go to these parent meetings for 4th, 8th, and high school students. However, for those students that do not attend a Title I school, they can come by the school or individually to see Miss Marilyn Bartlett Jackson in the Parent Resource Center and receive all the materials. They can receive tutorials to see what websites to go on, to go walk through the Caddo Common Core website and other things. So we have something for all of our parents. But this year we want to engage our parents during the school year to decrease the number of students we see for summer remediation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Edwards. We really want you to see that summer school, or planning for summer school, is really an awesome undertaking, and we want to express our appreciation to all of the persons who had input into the planning. We deem this one to be a successful year. Thank you all.
Okay, we're now down to the part of the agenda where we will establish the September 17th Caddo Parish School Board meeting agenda. Dr. Robinson, you want to?
Yes, sir. Starting with 6.01, personnel recommendations. 7.01, purchasing, Mr. Graham. We have some things, janitorial, bathroom supplies, and some major fuel man contract. 8.01, resolution of a level 4 grievance. 8.02, the Brian Gowen Foundation, that's Mr. Rochelle's item. Long-term use of CPSB facilities. 8.03, that's Mr. Woolfolk. 8.04, request for sale of property. That's in reference to Hamilton Terrace, and that's Mr. Graham will provide any information that you need there. 8.05, resolution adoption, OGM lease Tacoma Energy, and that's the transfer of oil and lease, gas and oil lease property. 8.06, out-of-state travel. 8.07, approval of services for school transformational consultant, and that will be Mr. Abrams. Superintendent's report, update, and you will notice that we changed that just a little bit. It was update for target schools. We want to keep you abreast of our conversations with Mr. Delano Ford, who now represents us in the area, or represents RSD in the area, excuse me. Okay? And then student appeals, student readmission appeals, we have 4 to date. That's the agenda, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Board members will go by each item, each one, and if you have a question, we'll respond to the questions at that time. And I will also suggest either to put them on consent or not. There's nothing listed under 6.01 as of yet. 7.01, purchasing consent. Okay.
We don't have a bid yet, do we?
Mr. Graham?
No, at this time, we don't have backup for either one. The fuel bid opens this Friday, and we just opened the janitorial supply bid, and we're still evaluating.
I don't know that.
Thank you.
And the only reason I don't want to fix it because we don't have the bids.
8.02 is Brandon Gowen Foundation, Mr. Rochelle's agenda item. Would you would like to make a comment.
Yes, sir, I would. Thank you, Mr. President. Hopefully everybody got this information long enough to review it and see the benefits of it. We are fortunate enough to have Brandon Golan's mom here this evening, and I'd like to give her an opportunity to come share with us about the foundation that she has, if that would be okay, Mr. President?
Do y'all have any questions of Mr. Rochelle? Or okay, if she's willing to answer questions, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Okay.
Mr. Hooks.
Said I wasn't going to say anything, but you know, it's a small world, and I've been knowing this family for the longest, and it didn't dawn on me until the day who they were.
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr.
Okay. Dr. Mary Nash Robinson and the entire Caddo School Board, we appreciate the opportunity to come up here and talk to you and discuss a little bit about the Brandon Golan Foundation. Brandon, I know you have the information and that y'all got a copy of this. Brandon was a baseball player at LSU in Alexandria. He played ball in East Texas at Elysian Fields ISD, and he had been through all the mandatory physical requirements, one in middle school, two in high school. In college, you're required a physical every year. He was a junior, so that was 6. And he also had a physical last summer for his summer job. So he actually had 7 physicals. And I talked to him that morning, and he sounded fine, didn't feel bad, nothing. And we got a phone call and said he had collapsed on the baseball field, and he never recovered. We found out later he had sudden cardiac death, and he ended up having a condition called ARVD, arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, which is a heart condition that cannot be detected through a physical. About 1% of the time, they can detect heart abnormalities with a physical. An EKG allows it up to 85% of the time they can detect something. Now this has happened to us, and we've done a lot of research trying to come to terms and trying to figure out what we can do to help other people. We have found a group called the Cypress ECG Project out of Houston that offers EKG testing for $15 a student. And they will travel wherever you need to go. In the Houston area and in the Austin area, there's a real big movement for this right now. And of course what happens is, unfortunately, some family loses a child, and then everybody says they're paying attention more. You hear of people falling out on the football field from overheating, overexertion, but you don't really hear about it in baseball. And Brandon was playing baseball. It was January the 18th, this past January. It was cool outside. He wasn't overheated. They did toxicology reports. He didn't do drugs. He didn't do steroids. He was the epitome of health. So we are trying to go to school boards and to different schools in Texas, to the ISDs, encouraging them to allow EKG testing in their schools. The Cypress ECG Project is one of a few that will come and they do the test at your school. They have a computer screen, and it looks like a remote control that has leads on it, and they put the EKG leads on you. It takes maximum 5 minutes. The most of the time is plugging in all the information and putting the leads on. They do the testing, and then they email it to a cardiologist in Houston, Dr. DeBosch, and he specializes in athletic cardiology, and then he reads it and sends the information back to the school nurse or whoever is approved for HIPAA regulations through that school. If there's no problem, then the nurse sends a letter to the parent saying thank you for participating. Your child there was no problem found. Occasionally there's a yellow flag that comes up, a low risk, but they want you to go get it looked at. Or there might be a high risk which says you got to quit working out. You can't do anything until you get looked at. We have done testing in Elysian Fields ISD and Wascom ISD in East Texas, and so far we have had 3 yellow flags come up. So it's about 10% are showing some type of risk that you need to get double checked. I know that you've heard of this. Maybe when it happens to your family, you really pay more attention to it. We've tried to get other people involved, and nationwide, there's 15 states that have a program established that they are really looking into getting the EKG testing going into the schools. The biggest concern is the cost. And people will say, EKGs cost too much, and there's such a low instance of sudden cardiac death. nationally, there's like a 1 in every 44,000 or 1 in every 200,000 of a sudden cardiac death that takes place. However, in our area, within a 50-mile radius, last week, a young man at Homer High School collapsed on the basketball court, and he died from sudden cardiac death. And our son, Brandon, who's from Wascom, Texas, also collapsed from sudden cardiac death. So it is definitely something to look at and something to know about. If there's anything we can do to help them, I know that's what y'all are for. Everybody's for the kids. It's one reason we wanted to come to the school board and say, if there's anything you can do to help us, we would really appreciate it. My son, Derek, says, you know, it's like $15. It's 2 meals at McDonald's or any fast food place, and you can protect your child. Do you have any questions?
Ms. Bell?
My question is this, we're going to. Is this only just for athletes? It could be, I mean, I know it's strenuous things with cheerleaders and band members. Is this just for the athletes?
Yes, ma'am. Well, it's not just for the athletes. They are focusing at the beginning on athletes, cheerleaders, band, anybody that's doing extracurricular like that, but it can be open to anyone in the schools.
So that's what I'm talking, I mean, I'm just saying athlete, I'm just looking at the fact that I know band members.
Yes, ma'am.
And the strenuous and also the cheerleaders and dancers.
And the band members have those uniforms on that are very hot.
Okay. So when they did the test, it was cardiac, that he never had any problem at all. When I was reading it, no problems at all.
Brandon never had any problems whatsoever.
You know, sometimes they say it's a silent killer, so I believe it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Usually the first symptom is the death, is sudden cardiac death. And with Brandon, he worked out all the time, and you can, y'all have a picture? Y'all saw a picture of him? He truly is the epitome of health. He worked out all the time, and I would never in a million years have thought something like this could happen. If I can do anything to help somebody, parents, not have to go through what we've gone through, then it'll be worth our time. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
One other question.
Yes, sir.
Is, I see under revenue, you fundraising at various athletic events and donations, and at $15 sure seem, how can they cover those costs?
We've talked to the people at the Cypress ECG project, and what they do is the main cost is the little sticky things for the leads, and because they have to replace those, Dr. DeBosch does it for free. It's volunteer. He offers it, his time. And so and through the internet with the emailing it down there, there's virtually no cost. There's no office time, nothing like that.
I see no other questions on the board. Mr. Rochelle is back on the board, and Mr. Pearson, and Mr. Ryle. Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. The one I can only imagine the loss that you've had, but for you to take this and turn this around the way that you have and made it such a positive impact, I will tear up just thinking about it, talking about it. But I admire you tremendously for being able to take such a loss and go out to the public and say we can change this. And I'm going to tell you that this is preventative. You know, we're already required to have in all of our athletics to have the little shocking boards. And you know, if this stops one of those, it's been well worth it. And I have to tell you, I know I don't want to risk any of the children. And thank you so much for bringing us to the board. And I'm very thankful that you've done this and brought it to our attention. And I hate to say that I hope that this prevents something. You know, I wish we didn't have anything to prevent, but at least now we will give them an opportunity to make sure that this may not happen again. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
But Mr. Pearson has a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's not so much of a question. you know, in another life, I was an athletic supervisor, and I know we used to use Jamboree money for insurance, to pay for the insurance of athletes. I'm not sure how they handle it now since the Jamboree is so spread out and so different, but perhaps we could refer that to our new athletic supervisor to look into, to see just what we can work out or what kind of funding. I'm not sure if Jamboree, I'm sure that money is used for something pertinent, but I mean, that could certainly be an avenue when you start talking about raising the funds.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for your time.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Do we? Okay, it's item 8.02. Do y'all want to put that one on consent?
Yeah.
Yeah. 8.03. Okay. 8.03 is long-term use of Caddo Parish School Board facilities. Mr. Woolfolk.
I see Cabosa is using Uri Drive for, is that the only thing, only contract we have with Cabosa this year? Is Uri, do you know of?
Oh, I don't.
The school facility?
I don't know. I can check that out.
Okay.
This is for soccer use at the Uri Drive field.
Okay, and it's just for a couple of months, I see.
Yes, that's all they request.
All right, thank you. That's all I want to know.
Would you like for me to check to see if there's any
I would
other?
like that.
Okay, I can get that.
All right, thank you.
Okay. There are no other questions?
One more thing. I do apologize. I didn't see a cost associated with that either. With what I'm looking at with that.
There's no charge to use the field. They just have to provide the insurance.
Okay.
That's outside field use. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to add that one to consent.
Yeah, you can.
8.04, request for sale of property. Okay, I'm going to suggest that one for there. Ms. Armstrong has a question.
Let me ask, did we not just approve that as one of the schools for the sheriff's department to use?
No, ma'am. That wasn't one of the schools. Central.
That's a short term.
Hamilton Terrace also.
Dr. Robinson, would you get someone?
Ms. Armstrong, excuse me, have we responded to your question?
Well, yes, ma'am. I just wanted to know what our plans are if we do put this up for sale, in terms of not only that, but in terms of possibly needing that facility down the road.
Well, one thing on the sheriff's usage, I think that the request was any one of our empty facilities at the time. I think we looked at Central is pretty much empty. Any facility that's available that's empty is, I think, the request from the sheriff's department. They were very flexible. The one thing with Hamilton Terrace is that we did have a lot of vandalism at Hamilton Terrace, and it's probably about $500,000 of air conditioning units that were destroyed while they were there. So other than the gym section, Hamilton Terrace air conditioning is not functional at this particular time. But we did have this out on a lease. The person that wanted it, it was so much work to get it fixed up. They did not want to put that money into it in a lease. They would prefer to buy it since they have to invest so much money in it.
Have they pursued the criminal activity? Has anything come of that?
Yes, it went through Roy Murray and the police department. I think they did find the person that.
Mr. Murray, could you come and share the details with us, please?
There's been an arrest made in that case, pending court. I mean, it's in court, so, but probably getting the restitution from that is probably not going to happen. But it's, my understanding, it's the same person that was doing the same thing at the hospital that they closed right there across from Hamilton Terrace.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Priest?
Thank you, President Ramsey. What about if we decide to move forward with this in our contracts? I think we, as a board, decided some years ago with the sale of any of our properties that we would put in stipulations for the usage of those facilities. For an example, they could not utilize those facilities to establish a school.
Well, I believe when we sell it, they have the right to use it as they see fit, but on a lease, we can control that. Am I right, Mr. Abrams?
That's correct. And the last facility we had was a lease.
Yes, sir.
Was a lease.
Yes.
Ms. Green?
When it comes down to selling properties, I guess I am my daddy's child. I don't like to sell anything, but have we gotten an appraised value on that school?
I actually spoke to the appraiser this morning. He's finishing up the written report. He's actually anticipating 1.3 million.
Oh, okay. Thank you. How many square footage is that building, if
I
you
believe
don't
it's
mind?
over 70,000 square.
And I mean, just the yards itself ought to be about 2 or 3 acres, the front.
Yes. I believe he said with all the properties like 10 acres.
Wow. And how much, give me that,
With
1
the
point?
building included, he's estimating, it's not finalized, but he said estimate of 1.3 million.
I'm gonna look at that again. I'll go by and look at the school again. Thank you, Mr. Ramsey and Mr. Graham.
Mr. Rochelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. And who's the interested party?
Shreveport Rescue Mission.
Shreveport Rescue Mission, okay. And obviously, we're going to see a copy of the appraisal.
Oh, definitely, yes, sir. It should be ready next week.
Okay, and in which way was he determining his value? Was it, obviously, it wasn't under a replacement or a new construction?
Oh, no, sir. I'm not sure exactly, but he used comps off a building off of Line Avenue and also the previous school that we sold, Law Street. He had a hard time finding comps, but he found them.
Yeah, I'm sure that we did. Is there anything when we sell an asset like this that obligates us to use the funds in a particular fashion? Is there anything? Or does it go directly into the general fund?
Capital.
It goes into capital projects, okay? I would suggest this, Mr. President, that possibly that this also be handed over to the Building and Grounds Committee on possibly making some determinations on these additional funds and on how we may be able to come back and address it to the board. It may be, we may not obligate it to anything, but I think it should be handed over to the Building and Grounds Committee to at least discuss. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Mr. Abrams to clarify a couple of things.
First, I assume that you're asking the ability to go out and put it out for bid.
Correct.
Okay, which means at that point, you're going to see who's going to bid on it the first time. Then if no one takes it at appraised value, then you move on down the scale.
That's correct.
So you're requesting from the board to put it out for bid in accordance with law.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then later on down the road, if it don't sell, then you come back with a minimum amount that you'll accept.
That's correct.
Okay, y'all get that? Okay, Mr. Crawford.
Did we empty that building out completely?
We still have a few items left, but anytime if we were to sell it, we definitely empty it out. We have a few things we had stored over there, but it's not a lot. It's actually it's older equipment. We either going to salvage it or trash it.
Okay.
All the major components are.
I mean, we didn't leave electronics.
Oh no, ma'am, none at all. All those were removed when the school was closed.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Trammell. Ms. Bell.
My concern is this, that, you know, we have these buildings, and we're close to the buildings, right? And I've been by there. It's nothing but a target of vandalism and all. Then we need money also. Then someone complained that we got too many buildings. So I'm feeling, I think we need to sell the buildings. Also, the reason I'm saying that to you, Mr. Because we gonna have to be the one to keep that building up. We have to, every time somebody break in, we go over there, right?
That's correct.
And nail this and nail that. If someone interested in buying that building, we need to try to think about selling it, which we can put in a capital project to do something else with. Also, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm like Ms. Priest said, Devin need to go back to the notes. We said something about some other property that we sold. It would not be used to put a school up. That is in some of those notes, I believe. I remember that. We made that stipulation.
It was a lease, Ms. Bell.
Okay, huh?
It was a lease.
No, sir. I think it was the man who bought the thing up, up there in North Market. No, not North, up there in Vivian. Remember?
The Hawson property.
That's right. Let's go back to the notes. I will see those notes, but we said that. I'm not, okay. Thank you, and I'm getting ready to leave.
Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. This was brought up, and so this is kind of a sidebar. Was this an HVAC company that happened to go in there and steal all of these units?
No, sir, not at all. It was a pedestrian. It was still in copper.
Unbelievable. We had one individual cost this district $500,000.
And it was done over time.
Okay. It was still the same individual that was doing all this. Unbelievable. I hope that this gets to the public well enough and gets to the judge and to whoever else is handling this, the impact that this one individual has, and I hope they nail it. Thank you for the leeway.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson.
Do we maintain mineral rights?
Yes, sir, we would.
Okay, so that's in the contract. Thank you, sir.
Seeing no more questions, do y'all want to add this to consent? We'll put it on consent. Thank you. Okay, 8.05, resolution adoption of OGM lease Tacoma Energy. I would say consent. 8.06, out-of-state travel, consent. And 8.07, approval of services of school transformational consultant. And I'm going to ask Mr. Abrams to discuss this item. Mr. Abrams.
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. What you have before you is a proposal from New Millennium, which is Kim Williams. Some of you may have met her before. If you notice from her resume, she worked for the State Department. She is an attorney, even though she does not practice as an attorney. And she has quite a bit of background as far as state operations. She actually worked for the RSD, and she did work with Delano Ford in their office. She has made a proposal to work with Caddo Parish in order to help Caddo Parish find all types of alternatives that she knows that the state will consider when it comes time for whatever they're going to decide to do in December or January of the upcoming year. And so basically what it amounts to is she has an idea of how to provide proposals that may be a little bit different from just saying a charter school. It may be something out of the box that she knows will probably pass muster with the State Department, that may meet all the requirements to be a turnaround, rather than saying that it has to be a charter school. But it doesn't mean she won't say a charter school. But she'll be able to provide the school board with all types of options based upon the information that she already has knowledge about. She will do an analysis of our current schools, look at statistics and where students are having issues, and make recommendations also. Her intent is to work with the board and work with the staff, from what I understand, and actually try to come up with something that actually works for Caddo Parish, that could be acceptable by the RSD or the State Department in the very near future. The second part of her contract really is actually very, very, I think will be beneficial to the district, and that is the third-party reviewer of charter school applications. Last year when we reviewed the Magnolia School project, we actually had to pay $7,500 just for one review by an outside company. She is agreeing to do any of them that we get, and we certainly expect to get some. As a part of this proposal, she will also be our third-party reviewer and make a recommendation. She can do the same thing when we want to go outside and hire anyone to do reviews for us. So that's basically what it is in a nutshell. She will even do a proposal, whatever to go to the Department of Ed if that's what the board wants to do. She's committed to coming down here 2 days a month and actually meeting with people personally to work with the district.
And I just wanted to add that I asked to also meet with this lady, and we did meet. And one of the first questions I asked was, you'd be working for Caddo and not the RSD, and would all that information be confidential, Caddo? And the answer was yes, I would be working. I do not work for RSD, I work for Caddo. She just has a vast amount of experience, I think, that's going to be invaluable for us as we move into the environment that we are about to fast forward, that I think you'll get a report under 9.01 at the next meeting. We have to have an outside vendor or provider to do the reviews of any applications that we have anyway. So I believe this is an opportunity to get a very experienced lady at a very reasonable price. And so I asked Mr. Abrams to look at this and bring this item. Of course, Dr. Robinson, I think, is in accord with this as well. We're going to need someone, as we work within all these committees, to also look at the data and help bring all of this, some of this stuff together that knows what the RSD may be looking for. So that's the amount of knowledge that I have of it, and she's just a very quality young lady. Ms. Armstrong, you're on the board.
Yes, sir. As I was studying this information prior to the meeting, I was curious to know, did we solicit this type of service, or did she just come to us and offer this proposal?
She has several other contracts with various parishes, and she's trying to build her business. So she she came to us initially. And as we did the interview, it was pretty appealing, and it's also compelling. I mean, we're going to have to have these type of services going forward. And she's just out on the front end, which also impresses me, knowing that these type of services are going to be required by the state, or at least some of them.
Right.
And plus the amount of experience that she's already banked, I think could be invaluable to us, especially in the next 6 months.
I was interested in those credentials as being top-notch. The other question that I had was, do you feel that, Dr. Robinson, do you feel that 2 days a month is adequate to actually serve this parish and our needs? It just seems to me like if she's going to be doing an evaluation, which, you know, she proposes, just the proposal is going to take a lot more than 2 days a month, it seems to me to do.
Let me just say that I introduced Kimberly Williams to President Ramsey and to Mr. Abrams because, you know, we are treading new territory, and so we knew we needed help. We did not want you to perceive that we would be unable to plan for our own less than satisfactory schools, but there are caveats with this that are spanking brand new for us, and we thought that we might need to help it. And considering the timelines, we don't get a whole lot of time to get a plan together. This is her draft of a proposal, and I honestly think that she would be amenable to doing whatever it is that we need to be sure that the plan that we put before Betsy is what we want it to be, and that it would be beneficial to our district. That is, enabling us to keep what is ours and to move forward. So she's amenable to that discussion.
Okay, thank you so much.
To add to that, the great amount of the work that she will do is dealing with data, and she does have a staff that will support her. And much of this can be done at another location as long as she has access to the computer.
Right.
So, but that was a good question, and I think, again, I just think it's a good deal. But we need that type of expertise available to us.
Thank you so
That's
much.
somebody you can trust.
Mr. Rochelle.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Obviously, the superintendent and the board president feel that this is something that we need, and probably so. It would seem to me that the best thing for us to do is for us to do an RFP to get proposals, to get comparisons. Now, I have people come to me constantly wanting to sell me stuff all the time. All the time. And let me tell you, I could spend money all day long, every day, with people coming to sell me something, and then find out a week later that I could have found something a little bit better for a little bit less money the following week if I'd just taken the time to research us a little bit. I will tell you that I'm not saying that I don't support us doing something like this, but I will not vote in favor of this. I would rather us do an RFP and get proposals so that we know what we're getting. And then go from there. I'd really like to see this postponed until we can have that discussion.
Let me just add that the window that we have is not great. The RSD, we've got to have a plan, and plan's going to be presented December 3rd or 4th. We've got to have something assembled the week of, early part of October. So we could, I guess we could wait 2 or 3 months, but we missed the boat by then. I guess is what I'm saying. And there's not that many experts like this floating around out there. I think some exploration has been done. But just so you'll know, there's a reason for the urgency of this request. And it is the timeline that will be presented to the board at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. That does help. What other school districts is she also working with in the state?
I don't remember. She named
I know
several.
there were several in North Louisiana. I know it's not Monroe City, so it must be Ouachita. And I'm almost certain it was either Lincoln or Bienville that she said.
Yeah,
she was certainly working with those.
She named some in South Louisiana.
And she has several in South Louisiana. She's using her expertise, everything she learned by working at the State Department under John White, and knowing where they're headed.
I think it would be nice to invite her to come share with us a little bit. I know she's had the opportunity to share with the superintendent, and I would appreciate at least the invitation being given to her to come speak at the next board meeting and share some of this. It would be even better if we could get who she is currently representing prior to that time frame, just in case somebody would like to contact or do some follow-ups with them. But I would like those 2 things, if at all possible. Is that possible?
She actually offered to come to this meeting or any meeting to meet with the board, so I know that's doable.
Okay, and then
I'm sure she could give us that.
And then if we could just request to have her to go ahead and just send, prior to the next board meeting, to go ahead and send what district she is working with. And I think that's all that I'll need at this point in time. Thank you.
I'll leave that one off of consent. Unless y'all want to go ahead and put it on.
No.
Okay. And we don't, do we have any information on the 4? Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mail, my apologies.
Well, my question was similar to Mr. Rochelle. I was just saying, was that the only firm or the only company that's doing this at this present time? I know there's an urgency to do it, and I'm just observing just now that there is a timeline that's out there that the board is unaware of, and I would like very much for us to know what's going on as it relates to the AU status of the schools that are in jeopardy at the current time. It would help us in making decisions hastily. So that's just what I have to say.
Ms. Priest.
Okay, thank you, President Ramsey. And I think what Ms. Trammell just stated, that's definitely something. Remember, was it last year or whatever, when a team of us went to Orleans Parish and we brought back a report, and we did talk about some of the things that the local district would need to do in order to be able to maintain its assets. We're at that point now, board. And of course, and I know that the State Department monitors us as we have our meetings. And there are things that you do not give your opponent. So this is a way, no matter what we do, we are going to have to do something, and we must do it very quickly. I do not believe that anyone sitting around this horseshoe wants to have Caddo's assets become someone else's. And we are on a short fuse. We do not have a lot of time on our hands. And so we do need to be brought up to speed about there are some facilities that's in certain status and other things, And we need to be able to deal with it, and we need to be proactive instead of reactive. And I think this is Caddo being proactive.
Okay. The next item is 1301. There's 4, and maybe 4 on the student readmission appeal hearings. We'll leave that open until we have an opportunity to see if there's any settlement on the horizon.
If I'm not mistaken, Ms. Moore says all of the parents are consenting with staff's recommendation.
Okay. Well, we can put that one on consent. Yeah. The attorney pointed out we might want to wait and see what the staff recommends. No. Do your homework, board. We'll leave it on.
Mr. President,
Okay.
I'd also like to add that some of the last readmissions that we had seen did not have any letters written from the students, which was something that we put in place, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, directly from the students about their own request. I understand that it takes but I want to make sure that these readmissions from this point forward, that we do have a letter attached to the file of the student's request for readmission. Thank you.
Knock around.
Ms. Moore, you heard that, yes ma'am? Yes.
We'll go back through them for the consent items. Will be 8.02, 8.03, 8.04, 8.05, 8.06, and 13.01.
No, not 13.01.
No, don't leave. Okay, 1301 we'll leave off. I hear a question. Okay. Yeah, we can add now if you have information.
I need, thank you, Mr. President. I need to know, will we know any information about the employees that will receive a supplement other than the teachers?
Okay. That'll be coming out of the finance committee.
Finance committee?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, those are the consent items.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Move approval of the proposed agenda and consent agenda for September 17th. I will ask you what the email is.
Second.
Please vote. Executive committee. And they're in. Okay, thank you. Now, this brings us time when we give the audience an opportunity to participate. We welcome your input and comments as we poll the audience regarding items that are subject to the work session. If you would like to speak regarding an item that is subject to the work session or executive committee meeting, come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. When it is your time to speak, please step to the microphone and make your remarks to the entire board. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. A time clock on the monitor will help you be aware of your time. When the time runs out, the time is up. It is the board's policy not to respond individually to members of the audience. When appropriate, the board may refer concerns to the staff to be addressed. As this is a public meeting, we ask you to refrain from referring to personnel by name or incident. Thank you. And I have one card, Mr. Darrell Robertson. Please step to the mic and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Board President Ramsey, members of the board, and Interim Superintendent Robinson, and those of you in the audience. I am Darrell Robertson, the President of the Caddo Association of Educators and Education Support Professionals, 3007 9th Street, Suite 210, Shreveport, Louisiana. Just do it. Time after time, year after year, programs, policies, and procedures are approved or are set for implementation by this board. The administration is given the charge to make them happen. This oftentimes happens with no workable model that can be fair to all who are to be affected, students, teachers, building level administrators, on how to achieve the results that are sought. Just the mandate to just do it. With your approval of the AB modified block schedule, this is exactly what happened. From building to building, it looks different. Teachers who teach on the AB block schedule know that it takes the daily planning block to effectively plan for meaningful instruction for their classes, and oftentimes these teachers have multiple preps. They teach classes that have students with multiple learning styles, students who need individual attention as observed by the teacher or mandated by their IEPs, and they must prepare for multiple activities to make students leading learning work. These and many other preparations are part of the daily planning period for the teacher. However, the greatest impact is on the student and the student's achievement. As this schedule is modified, the teacher is given a break on the non-planning period day. Students lose instructional time with their assigned classroom teacher for a period of 30 to 45 minutes per day, and sometimes for more than one block of the day. So in 1 week, with 3 days of the 30 to 45 minute break, students lose 90 to 135 minutes of instruction with their assigned classroom teacher. In the week that is not so bad, in the next week or the second week, it's not so bad. The student only loses 60 to 90 minutes of instruction with their assigned classroom teacher. In a 2-week cycle, students lose 150 to 225 minutes of instruction with their assigned classroom teacher. What is going to be the impact of these lost minutes of instruction? 1, shorter time on task by students because the teacher giving relief to the assigned teacher is from a different subject area. 2, lower achievement in the classroom and lower scores on classroom assessments and lower scores on subject-specific state-mandated assessments. How is this going to impact the teacher who must write SLTs and be assessed on the student's performance when he or she is being evaluated? How will this impact teachers who are assessed by students' performance on standardized tests? How is this going to impact the building administration whose student learning targets and evaluations are based solely on student performance on standardized tests? How is this going to impact the district? A district that just moved 10 schools, 2 of them high schools, from the state AUS list. Could it be that you have the same mentality as the governor, the legislature, the DOE, and the BESI, and are saying to us, just do it? And if we are, if you are really about improving student learning outcomes, then I hope you will reconsider the impact of modified block scheduling on not our teachers, but on our students. Just do it.
I was looking for that topic on the agenda. Typically, in the work session, we're going to hold it to items that are on the agenda. So next speaker, would you please, Ms. Lansdale.
I'll be glad to.
Ms. Lansdale.
President Bradley, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Robinson. Jackie Lansdale, President of the Red River United, 1726 Line Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana. I have a question regarding the consultant that you are hiring. You know, Mark Twain said who the expert is that person, the stranger from out of town. So I would be much appreciative if you would provide some information on this stranger from out of town, this so-called expert, prior to bringing this contract before the board. You know, we've been through this before, and I think I'm a little, weary of this. We just had Dr. March, and let's please be careful before we jump into another one of these situations that become the never-ending pit. And not saying this is a great idea, I just would love to have more information regarding this situation and the person, the credentials, that kind of thing before we go forward to such an endeavor. And looking forward to the Finance Committee meeting, as I heard you mention earlier, so that we can get the supply monies out to the teachers. Thank you very much for your time.
No, that's a new record.
She did.
So please vote.
Let me make one comment before we adjourn. I want to give kudos out to a bus driver by the name of George Adams, bus 221. Last Friday afternoon, I had a flat in the parking lot, and he stopped and helped me.
I was fixing to stop.
And yeah, fixing to didn't get it. But Mr. Adams did, and he got me up and with a tire that was low and aired it up, and I was off to the Gym South. But kudos to him over and over. I could not have been more appreciative. Thank you.
We've already adjourned, but go ahead.
Okay, excuse me. I would like to just give a big shout out. I guess that's what I'm doing to the staff at Caddo Heights. On last Friday, they had their academic celebration. The kids were excited. The staff was excited. The administration was. I was excited. The board members that attend, Mr. Hooks and Mrs. Bell, they were excited, and everybody had a wonderful time. They had great gifts for the kids, and and everybody was good. The parents were happy too. So thank you all for participating, and those that gave us a little help.